All right, welcome everyone. To all the HR managers, leaders, and people architects tuning in today, we are so incredibly thrilled to have you here for this explainer. Today we're tackling the absolute core challenge of modern human resources head-on. See, decades of organizational research have given us this massive mountain of evidence on how to build highly effective teams. Yet there's often a really frustrating gap between what the research tells us and what actually happens on the ground. So today, we're going to figure out exactly how to bridge that gap.
So let me just pose this question directly to you. Why is there such a massive gap between what HR knows and what organizations actually do? I mean, I know the daily struggle you face. You're tasked with translating super dense academic research, shifting corporate mandates, and really complex human psychology into practical, everyday operations. It is definitely not easy to sift through all the buzzwords to find what actually drives performance. But honestly, the stakes have literally never been higher.
There's a brilliant quote from researchers O'Reilly and Pfeffer that really hits the nail on the head. They say, "The unique competitive advantage organizations have today lies in their people. We are now in the era of human capital." And if you think about it, it's absolutely true. Financial capital, your physical plant, technology, products, all of that can be bought, copied, or totally replicated by your competitors. The only true, sustainable competitive advantage your organization has left is its people and its culture. And as an HR leader, you are the architect of that advantage.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start by exploring the new era of HR, then move into how to spark true employee enthusiasm. After that, we'll fuse well-being with performance, talk about building expert teams, and finally, how to create a truly sustainable organization. Let's dive right in. Starting with our first pillar, Section 1, the new era of HR. We have firmly shifted away from the industrial age, and we are deeply entrenched in the information age. And with that shift, the war for talent has really become the defining feature of the business landscape. The crucial shift here is a pretty stark contrast. In the old paradigm, employees were viewed merely as costs to be cut. In the new paradigm, they have to be viewed as assets to be developed. If you're still operating as a downsizer, always asking, what's the absolute smallest number of people we need to barely run this business, you're playing a losing game. HR leaders absolutely must urge their organizations to transition away from those outdated, highly transactional models. Effective HR today is all about continuous learning, information sharing, and actually investing in your people so they, in turn, invest their energy back into the company. Which brings us nicely to Section 2, sparking true employee enthusiasm. Because if people are assets to be developed, how do we actually spark the enthusiasm that drives them? Well, research shows enthusiasm isn't just some fluffy nice-to-have, it's a literal economic engine. Companies with enthusiastic employees see their stock prices outperform the industry average by over 2.5 times. So how do we build it? We can look to David Siroto's three-factor theory. He found that employee engagement relies on three basic, universal goals. First up is equity, which is just the basic human need to be treated fairly in terms of pay, security, and respect. Second is achievement, the need to actually take pride in your work and get recognized for it. And third is camaraderie, having warm, cooperative relationships with the people you work with every day. If your HR policies actively support these three pillars, you're going to see a massive surge in engagement, for sure. And that brings us to the type of culture that houses those three factors. A transactional culture, where workers are treated like interchangeable, totally expendable commodities, is just a prescription for long-term mediocrity. You pay them, they do the bare minimum, and that's the whole shebang. But a partnership culture, that's where workers are treated as valued allies. They actually share in the financial gains, the hierarchy gets flattened, and they are truly empowered. When people feel like actual partners, you don't need as many heavy-handed controls, meaning the cost of managing them drops while productivity goes through the roof. Moving on to Section 3, fusing well-being and performance. Now, we really need to bust a persistent HR myth here that's been lingering around for decades. It's this stubborn idea that you somehow have to choose between having a happy staff and running a high-performing business. The idea that staff happiness and high performance are mutually exclusive is, quite frankly, totally false. The assumption that you can either attend to staff happiness or drive high performance just doesn't reflect reality. Well-being and productivity are completely interdependent. You literally cannot have sustainable, high-level organizational performance if your employees are burning out. When stress is high, productivity plummets, and your direct economic costs skyrocket. It's as simple as that. So how do we manage this? Through something called HRM Systems Integrity. It's basically 3 steps. Step 1. Establish fair, open standards that are directly linked to your organizational goals. Step 2. During performance appraisals, focus entirely on tasks, not personality. Personalizing critiques causes massive, totally unnecessary workplace stress. And step 3, apply procedural justice. Just treating people with basic dignity directly reduces burnout and massively boosts their ability to perform.
Okay, on to number 4, building expert effective teams. In our incredibly fast-paced world, individual brilliance is rarely enough anymore. Collectives are essential for navigating complex, modern challenges.
But here's the catch. Just throwing a bunch of smart people into a room doesn't magically create a super team. In fact, teams of experts often fail to evolve into expert teams. Let that sink in for a second. Just because you have highly talented individuals doesn't mean they know how to interact, dynamically adapt, or share goals. To really leverage human capital, HR has to actively cultivate the specific conditions that allow a group of experts to transform into a unified expert team.
Research highlights Hackman's 5 non-negotiable conditions for team effectiveness. You definitely want to jot these down. 1. You need a real team with stable membership and clear boundaries. 2. A compelling direction that's challenging and actually consequential. 3. An enabling structure that prevents process bottlenecks. 4. A supportive context, meaning HR systems that actually reward teamwork, not just individual heroics. And 5. Expert coaching to help members navigate interpersonal challenges. Institute these 5 conditions, and you're going to build expert teams that thrive.
Finally, for an organization to survive long-term, it needs our 5th pillar, creating a sustainable organization. The environment is shifting incredibly fast, and HR is the absolute key to building the capacity to adapt to both economic and broader societal demands.
We can turn all this dense theory into action through the 4 C's: connectivity, commitments, culture, and capabilities. In practice, this means using socially connected recruitment, practicing inclusive succession planning, conducting values-based interviewing to hire for a sustainable mindset, and really encouraging bottom-up reflective performance evaluations where employees can learn from their mistakes without fear. This is how you literally hardwire sustainability right into your HR processes. Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking. Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but where's the actual proof? Well, let's look at how these soft HR initiatives drive massive hard business results. A perfect example is the incredible turnaround at the Royal Mail Group over in the UK.
Back in 2003, Royal Mail was bleeding money and losing countless days to chronic absenteeism. Their HR department was bloated, bureaucratic, and highly transactional. They needed a massive cultural shift. So what did they do? They launched a proactive, positive HR initiative called Be In to Win. Employees with perfect attendance were entered into a draw to win brand new cars. Now, critics called it a gimmick. I mean, giving away cars for just showing up sounds crazy, right? But look at the result, an 18% increase in employee attendance across the entire group. By offering a fun, partnership-style reward, they achieved what years of strict, punitive measures totally failed to do.
And here is the bottom line impact. This single HR transformation saved the business £80 million in sick absence payments and lost time. £80 million! It resulted in an average of 2,000 extra people at work every single day, which helped the organization return to profitability and hit record levels of quality. That is the true power of HR, when it closes the knowing-doing gap and focuses on positive human capital management.
So what's the core takeaway for you as an HR manager? It's really this simple. You have to transform your role from a reactive, transactional administrator into a proactive capability builder. Treat your employees as allies. Align your processes with absolute fairness and bridge the gap between what the research proves and what happens in your office tomorrow morning.
I'm going to leave you with this final, critical thought. When you look at your organization's policies, your performance reviews, and your daily interactions, are you managing your people as costs to be cut or assets to be developed? Because honestly, the answer to that question is going to define the future success of your entire organization. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now go out there and build something truly effective.